Hey, what's up, YouTube? This is Game on Cloud 9 here, and I'm here to bring you guys the new Naruto manga 671 prediction. And we sure have a lot to talk about because I didn't even actually talk about last week's chapter of Naruto, which was 669, which dealt with Guy and the Eighth Gate and him using Night Elephant. Before that I reviewed it, but like the chapter before that, but I didn't review last week's chapter. And of course, I have to review this week's chapter. Now, last week's chapter, I won't go into huge detail, but all I have to say is it was an amazing chapter. We got so much freaking DC from Guy, and in case some of you guys don't know what DC means, it means destructive capacity. I mean, each Night Elephant, oh man, I mean, the massive tunnels that basically he created underneath the ground were incredible. I mean, you can notice it's just a huge difference between the seventh and the eighth gate. Even though the seventh gate is still extremely powerful, the eighth gate is nothing to play with, and it definitely, to me, makes sense that you would get this much of a massive power boost at the cost of your own life. At least it wasn't just some kind of minuscule thing where he's just a little bit stronger and does a little bit of a faster punch or something like that. I mean, he was good enough to where Madara was like, man, if he hits me like 4 or 5 times, I'm gonna take a little bit of damage. So that got Madara riled up. So I'm interested to see where that particular fight leads. I don't think Guy will last too much longer though. But anyway, aside from that particular chapter, obviously it segued into this week's chapter, which was 670, dealing with Naruto, and we all know who it is. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys have read the chapter by now. And if you haven't, I suggest that you go ahead and read this one for yourself, like right now. If you were waiting for me to give you a synopsis or something, you don't want me to give you a synopsis. You want to check this out because it was a huge revelation, and it may take away a little bit from the shock value if somebody just tells you about it. So, anyway, the Sage of the Six Paths made an appearance. I mean, I was fine. I didn't expect for him to do that. I'm like, I wasn't sure when it was going to happen. I mean, I knew at some point we had to learn what Sage or maybe hear what the Sage had to say, but I didn't think it was going to happen in this particular instance. I thought Naruto and Sasuke were probably going to wake up this week. Sasuke was going to have his power up with the Rinnegan and some kind of makeshift curse seal form where maybe he had like a sage marking on his nose, kind of like the star formation that he has when he used to go into curse seal level 2. You guys know what I'm talking about, on his nose, or at least you should. Just look at Sasuke with curse seal level 2 if you don't know what I mean. Anyway, I thought basically it was going to be something like that. Naruto wakes up like a pseudo Sage of the Six Paths and they take on Madara this week. But instead, we actually got the Sage of the Six Paths himself. Now, 1/3 of the chapter basically consisted of Naruto not even understanding what the Sage of the Six Paths was talking about. Which, at first read, I got slightly annoyed. Not because, I mean, I'm used to Naruto being like that. And it doesn't usually bother me, but it bothered me at first when I read it the first time around because I thought it was going to take up a majority of the chapter and we weren't really going to get any information. But I was definitely wrong. So I don't really see it as a flaw now because the next time I read it, I found it pretty funny, and enjoyable. And I felt like it made a lot of sense. Not only that, but then it kind of explained the character of the Sage of the Six Paths. And in fact, I would even go ahead and say that he actually meets more of a definition of what a sage is, or what people will refer to what a sage actually is, which is supposed to be a very knowledgeable. I can't even talk right now. Knowledgeable person. So, I thought that was pretty cool. To actually see his interaction, how he can change up the way he speaks and talks and all that. And of course, he even got into the whole thing of how he didn't create ninjutsu, he created ninshu. Now, after him and Naruto began our discussion, he basically told Naruto there's something that he needs to explain to him. And what that was is actually, I guess about his mother and his sons, which of course, ends up leading to the end of the chapter. Now, I'll get into the end of the chapter in a minute, even though most of us already know about what it's actually about. But after that point, then he gets into his mother. His mother, they showed her finally. She looks kind of like, I say a little bit like Kushina in terms of like facial wise. Her facial structure. She has really long hair, and then she has like these horns on top of her head. And basically the people refer to her as is the rabbit goddess or the demon. Now, all I have to say about the Sage Six Paths mother, well, Madara basically already told us about that. So some people may not really have liked that part of the chapter, but I kind of feel like it's important that the Sage of Six Paths confirm some of these things that Madara said, because some may be true, some may not be, or there may. Or I think for the most part, everything Madara said was true, but I think that there may be some missing details, like some things that need to be added on, which the chapter kind of inferred this week, because right after he explained his mother. Well, one thing I found kind of interesting is that Naruto asked, like, is your mother stronger than you, the Sage of Six Paths? And he was like, yes, like she's more powerful than anyone. Which I found to be pretty crazy. I was like, oh my goodness, man. I mean, I don't know about anybody else, but I want to see his mother fight. I want to see what she's capable of doing. I mean, if she's stronger than the Sage Six Paths, Sage Six Paths must be ridiculous. We haven't even seen the true power of the Sage Six Paths right now. I mean, even Madara is not meeting that quota right now, according to think about Minato saying that he's resembles the Sage's power even more like than Obito, but it's not at the Sage's power. And we know Madara is ridiculous right now, and he hasn't even done everything Obito does, yet he's stronger. But anyway, yeah, I want to see more of I want to see what she can do, what she's capable of doing. I don't know if we ever will, but it would be nice to get like a little flashback. But the Sage kind of skipped over some details of some things, which makes me think we're going to get more details at a later point, maybe from another character. I don't know. Because another thing is, he didn't say where his mother was from, and it kind of seemed like he left that out purposely. Like that's neither here nor there. Basically trying to focus on what he was trying to tell Naruto right now. And then he went on to explaining that how he got the Ten Tails, and that him and his brother, which we didn't even know he had a brother before this point, have both taken on the Ten Tails, which I don't think Kishimoto just threw in a brother for no reason. His brother must be relevant in some shape, way, or fashion. Whether or not he's relevant in the series or he's going to come up in a movie, which I think I'm going to make a video about that particular theory itself as to who I think his brother is. I actually think we know who is, like, there's information in the story to actually say who his brother is, but I'm gonna leave that for a video because I think that's I think I have a pretty good theory with that. And I know some other people have actually thought this as well. I may have actually stated in a video before, so some of you guys may actually know where I'm going with it. But anyway, him and his brother took on the Ten Tails, and they both sealed it in their bodies. Now, what makes me think about that is, did they split the Ten Tails in two, similar to how Minato split the Nine Tails in two and sealed half of himself and half in Naruto? I think so. Not only that, the Jubi looked slightly different in that panel, and maybe the Jubi actually has two eyes because we didn't see the other side of it. So it is possible it could have actually the complete Jubi have two eyes, which also makes it just that much more OP because Obito didn't even have a freaking complete Jubi and didn't even have control over that, and you saw how much DC and how much power he had. And then Madara has sort of a complete Jubi now of I would assume to be half of it, and that's supposed to be incredibly powerful. And we see how strong Madara is, so it's like, and Sage Six Paths obviously had half of a complete Jubi or whatnot. I would assume, and we see how powerful he is. He freaking made the moon, so I don't know. I thought it was I mean, I don't know. I guess I get all excited about DC. You see destructive capacity from different characters and different stories or whatnot. And I kind of like seeing that kind of thing. Like, so I don't know. I find that kind of cool. But aside from that, let's move on to the later part of the chapter, the more important information. Then he goes and explains he talks about his sons. He had one son who was basically had the name of Indra, which is the older brother, which we already know the elder ancestor, the Uchiha, and then the youngest brother, Asura, who was basically the ancestor of the Senju clan. And Indra basically was the genius, and Asura was the the dropout, the basically the hard worker, the one who had achieved strength through hard work and through others helping him. And he basically got into the whole dynamics of how how everything worked with them, and how because of the way Asura was, and because of the fact that he didn't just rely on himself, he relied on others around him, and he trained hard, and eventually his chakra blossomed. That's why he decided to give make him the successor, because he basically tried to understand everyone around him and be able to use everyone else as his own strength, as opposed to just relying on himself. Because Enduro basically was the one who used the power. I mean, basically inherited the strength through just traits alone. Like, he genetically was just stronger, but then through hard work. He was like, you can say Asura was able to bring out his true potential. But basically, the kicker at the end of the chapter, one thing I have to say is I don't know what Asura had going on when we see, like, I think on the last page, a panel with Endora using Perfect Susanoo getting ready to fight against his brother Asura. And you see like this aura mode, it looks sort of like Biju mode, which would kind of explain why Naruto's Biju mode is different than everybody else's, like, you know, tail beast form, when they transform to just the tail beast. But anyway, we see a panel of that, and he explains this is basically how, like this initiated the long war between the two when these two fought because Endora was pissed at the fact that he was the successor. And then from that point on, then the Sage Six Paths said, even though their bodies diminished, their chakras continue to be able to basically reappear throughout the ages. And then he tells Naruto, you Asura was reborn in you. So basically, Asura is, or Naruto is the reincarnation of Asura, and that was the cliffhanger for the end of the chapter. Now, what I think about that, I don't mind it too much, And some people will probably go into the whole destiny thing again. Oh, it was Naruto's destiny. But even if you wanted to say that, Asura was a hard worker too. Asura wasn't, just good out the gate. So I mean, regardless, it doesn't take away from the hard work value because everybody wants to say, oh, Naruto didn't have to work hard. Yes, he did. Yes, Asura did too. If they didn't work hard, then they wouldn't be good. Just have to throw that out there. But I mean, this chapter this week, just to summarize, as far as, the writing of it, I mean, I thought it was a great chapter. In fact, I'm actually, and this may be a little bit of bias right here, but I love this chapter so much, and I think that this chapter gave us information and gave a lot of theories that people, like, could actually come up with from this chapter, like, information-wise, and confirm some things that I want to really give this the highest rating possible because I feel like this is one of those chapters where you're gonna remember it. When you look back at it, you look forward to it in the anime. So I'm gonna give it a Sage the Six Paths level chapter. I've never did that for any of the Naruto chapters, but I'm giving it for this one because I definitely feel like it did what it was supposed to do. As far as what I think is going to happen next week, of course, we're going to go dive deeper into it. I think Sasuke obviously is Endora. We'll probably Sage Six Paths will probably talk to Naruto a little bit longer. I'm thinking maybe give us a little bit. Maybe Naruto will ask a few more questions. Maybe give him some information, on how he can get stronger and a power up. I'm not sure if he's going to talk to Sasuke or not. I doubt it. He's probably not going to talk to Sasuke, but he may give him a few tips on how to handle Sasuke since, Sasuke's probably going to be like Endora, and maybe how he can take out Madara, and then probably disappear towards the end of the chapter. That's the only thing I can really infer from this chapter because, I mean, it can really go any way, because right now we're in the backstory and who knows where Kishimoto is going to go explaining everything, but I think Sage Path gave a little bit of a rundown what he wants to talk about now. And heck, he may tell Naruto something that we may not actually hear right now for him to reveal something later, or I don't know, tell him how to tap into some hidden potential. Because of course Naruto has to be able to find some way of beating Madara. So he may tell him the weakness to the Jubi, something like that. And at the end of the chapter, I think Naruto will wake up and Sasuke will, we may pan over to Sasuke too and see Sasuke wake up as well with the Rinnegan, and then that'll be the cliffhanger. Now I'm not sure what's going to be going on with Guy at that point, but I think probably the following chapter Guy will probably die or something. That's my guess. But like I said, I thought the pacing was pretty good this week. You had the first part of the chapter, introduction with the sage, and kind of a little bit of comedy. Second part of the chapter focusing mainly on the like Sage Six Path's mother, as well as his brother, and how he beat the Ten Tails, and then the third part of the chapter ending off on Endora and Asura explain their dynamics with the whole yin and yang thing, and ending off with the cliffhanger of telling us that Naruto is basically the reincarnation of Asura. So I thought it was handled well. I thought we had some a good revelation in this week's chapter, as well as some things to theorize from. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Did you enjoy the chapter? Do you think the chapter did what it was supposed to do this week? Do you think that the rating was a fair rating? So please don't forget to rate this video, comment down below what your thoughts, and subscribe if you enjoyed my content and you want to see more. Thank you for watching. I'll see you later.